Welcome to the Tug of Heart podcast on Strong Island Radio. This is the place where we dig deep into the heart to rise in love. So let's join good friends Lori and Marianne as they discuss understanding and living from the heart.
So Marianne,
welcome. I apologize, Lori. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Welcome to Tug of Heart and another 40 minutes with the Cordova Twins. A very special thank you goes out to Strong Island Entertainment for hosting us today.
Thanks, Bobby.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Bobby. Today, Lori and I are going to begin to explore passions. So I stopped into a bookstore the other day, an old dusty place filled with the pages that witnessed you and I. There didn't seem to be anyone visiting this retired trove of forgotten magnificence. But as I leafed through the volumes of our connection, the reality of our unique relationship was clear. Singular in its occurrence, it is the navigation star for the hearts of all. What we have experienced will always be the indelible legacy of what can be felt through time and distance when it is simply meant to be. Pulling a well-worn and ancient binding from the shelf, I took in the details of the leather exterior. The leather must have been sourced from a long forgotten saddle and told of its usefulness. There was something about this book, something magical, something timeless. Satisfied with the memory of its well-scarred cover, I opened to find untouched handwritten pages completing the author's thoughts. Have you ever felt something so special that upon first discovery, you're already sad and find it difficult to accept that you can see the beginning and the end in a single picture? As I turned the pages, careful not to disrupt the well-preserved penmanship, I refrain from deciphering what's written because I already know. As I near the final few pages, I'm treated to several empty pages and realize that such is the book of our special bond. Never before have I been so content with a pledge. I wrote that just the other day, and I wanted to share it because writing is a passion of mine that kind of found me by accident, for sure. And as I was thinking about passions for the last couple of days when we decided this was going to be the topic today, I realized that it's a really probably won't wrap it up. I know we won't wrap it up today because passions find our hidden energy. And there's so much about passions that drive us almost in an autopilot fashion. I yield to Lori. Lori, welcome.
Hi, Leroy. Thank you. That was beautiful. I like when something is left to our interpretation where you could plug in so many different characters in there. And we're not limited, by what you have framed for us there. So I really like that. And it speaks so much about passions where when you see something, it almost can feel familiar, right? So if you podcast back, Leroy, just right before you started, as a matter of fact, we had talked about spontaneity as a thing that rises from within your heart and you express to the world, and it can drive you. And as you said, the word drive, that's one of the recurring things I think of in terms of passion. So this internal thing that drives you to just give to the world, teach the world, heal, some type of expression that is for good because it's generated from the heart. So that's with the understanding, of course, that your heart is in the right place. Now, when I think of passion or passions, to me, it's like recreating that same effect, except it's something external. It's not from within. So something outside of us causes the same rising within us and this like feeling where we have to respond, a call to response. It drives us. And it drives us in a very, I'll go back to how you said like this organic scheduling versus inorganic. So it's a very with some reasonableness on our part, it's a very organic drive as opposed to motivation. You know, because I've also had the days where I'm like, what the heck can YouTube motivate me to, you know, clean that top drawer? Long way to go. But passion speaks to something that you recognize, I think, out in the world that is there for you as you are for it. And it has this capacity to, I don't want to say gain control of you, because we always have our will, but in this sense, we are willing to turn our will over to it because of the good we see in it. And it can be otherwise, but ultimately there is something about it that draws us in and makes us kind of obedient to it. Where most things in life we want things to be obedient to us, but a passion is something we serve. Because for me, when I feel passionate about something, it's because I feel as if I cannot do otherwise. And I'll yield back to you.
I like what you're saying. I think this is probably going to be the first recording where we maybe see things a little bit different. I think a lot of what we do is very like-minded. We are twins. As I thought about this for the last couple of days, I'm like, you know, most people, most of society, whether it's at home or a traditional vocation, they have a job. We all have a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the passionate ones become masters of that vocation.
Yes.
And it's passion nearly alone that compels us to continue our education. We're not here today sharing this time in this conversation for lack of passion. It's wanting to better understand ourselves and what is it that just kind of pulls us. I think this is such a huge topic because look around at artists and look around at people that motivate, people that, you know, make you want to run, exercise, do charitable acts,
Mm-hmm.
take time, meet new people, eloquently bridled passion really complements mankind. And as we kind of go through this, I think there's a lot to talk about, and we're going to just kind of get into this exchange, but we have to also be mindful that I think one of the big things in my life is that, you know, a quest for security really forms an assault on passion. You know, passion takes a back seat as we try and establish security. But then what is the value of that security if we deny passion in the process? So I think there's a lot of things, and as we go a little bit further in this, you know, we're going to start to see an MO here in that we probably need to turn back to children because children oftentimes get it right.
I can agree with that.
I think about that because I'm always thinking about Seth, especially as we spend this time, because he was passionate. He was a passionate child, just about life.
He was.
So what are you passionate about, Lori?
You know, I was thinking about it this past couple days, and one of the things that it's kind of led me to hold, at least up until now, and this is something I'm not in the habit of thinking about, so it's kind of a new topic for me. But when I was thinking about it, nothing really stuck. Like, I'm passionate about this, I'm passionate about that. And I started to think, like, I think our passions are not so much things, at least in introduction. They become passions by what we're willing to do for them, and it's kind of something that is built. That's one sense. Now you can see things and feel something about it. But I think to start with, like even when you're saying like this might be something we disagree with, I can see some of that, and I can see how the whole world has to see passions different because it's so intimate. How could we not see it exactly the way we see ourselves, the world, the root of many things? And so I would start with the definition of what passion is, and that's like I said, something outside of us has this ability to have like a transformational impact on what's inside of us. So when you're talking about security, how it can take a backseat to passion, I have a big respect for that. And I see how it's a possibility, but I can also see how it could be so entwined with passion. If you have a family, that would be your passion, and you will work because by definition, I mean, passion comes from suffering, enduring. And I like to think like somewhere between the extreme of, the extreme religious definition of passion, which is Jesus Christ, no getting around that, or martyrs, among many faiths and many people outside faiths have this in common of dying for a cause, right? But I think in modern society, it's what we endure for. So for writing, people will endure so much to capture what's important to them to express because they don't know how to do otherwise. You see artists who've just destroyed their hands, ballerinas who've destroyed their feet. Our young sister Leslie, as long as she was in ballet, not as long as some, and she feels it to this day. So there is a level of qualifying, I think, because at some point it is not enough to say, and I know you didn't say this, but I'm saying for my own definition, it would not be enough to qualify it by saying it's just that feeling or emotion or movement, because there has to, I think it's that followed by a compulsion and then pretty much an assent of the will where the will agrees. I see something, I want to do this with my life, or I feel driven to give this to the world, and my will agrees. So what I have been passionate about, I can tell you this, I've spent many years, plenty of years, like almost very spirited and seemingly passionate, but I think the lost years of my life, if you want to call it that, have been the years that I've just been like passionate about myself. And I think that, for me, has been a greater stumbling block. And so security, money, and all of that were the result of that passion. It's still a passion, but I don't think it lined up as it should with who I really am meant to be.
I ask these questions because for some reason, I'm not getting the answer that I guess I was hoping for. And I think as I kind of try and better understand passions in my life, it's like, what gives me rest? What do I do where I find rest? Because I'm somebody, I'm always thinking about something. It's very difficult. I probably could use some yoga exercises and meditation exercises because I find my mind is very, very busy. Not necessarily good. I'm not saying that I think more or better. It's always busy. And when I do things that I'm passionate about, cars, motorcycles, camping, I find that while it's an activity, I'm more rested. I find when I started this, I said, about, passions find the hidden energy, and all of a sudden you're literally doing something, but you're garnering rest in the process.
Right.
So it's like I'm trying to kind of understand your passions. I mean, I think of my twin sister and it's like, what is she passionate about? I'm like, wow, an impossibly well-written individual. I think you're passionate about writing. I think you're passionate about just having a purchase on the English language and putting things together. I know you're passionate about your children. Wow, passionate in a way that I'd actually I'd say I'm envious. It's one thing to say, oh my God, I love my kids, and then it's another thing to turn your life over to your children because you're so passionate about their existence that your existence, becomes a pledge to their existence and their upbringing. Yeah, I think that's, and then I have to tell you one thing as we kind of go through passions, do you have any thoughts on dangerous passions? And I say dangerous passions because passion sounds like a very romantic word, but then you think about Ted Kaczynski. He was a passionate individual. Not exactly.
Yeah, you're hard pressed to oppose that. You're right.
Yeah, and I mean, not somebody that we would want to emulate, and certainly not a noble individual, but passion all the same. It's a big topic, big topic. I think probably have to explore this beyond today. But
yeah, I agree with that.
What do you think of that? What are your thoughts on the dangerous passions?
Well, that's where I think that I think a passion in and of itself is just neutral. It's what we do with it. It's how we respond to it, and they become moral. Anything becomes a moral issue when we offer like a voluntary response to it. Then, you're tempted. Somebody says, "Hey, I have a quick way to make money." That a bank is there and they have money, and that's just kind of neutral. Or that you could do something. That's a really bad example, actually. But a passion is neutral. It's how we approach it and how we interact with it, and how do we utilize passions to drive good in us or bad? Because there are some passions that we agree to and it takes effort for. First of all, you can't partake in anything without agreeing to it. But there are times that our will is weak or we're just lazy. For me, it's a lot of laziness. So it's weakness and laziness. And I give in to things that I would want to do just because my will is not strong enough to say no to a something that tempts me to be passionate about, to make something more, to do, even if it could be the most, like on the tip of your fingertips and the tip of your fingertips and your tongue, the best words, you just think you could capture the secret of life. It's also dinner time and people are going to be coming home. Which do you surrender to? Because there's always choices in life. When you were saying about finding rest in it with the busy mind and that you engage in some of your activities, and that's where you get this kind of calm. That is, to me, it fits so well into passions because a part of it is when we begin to repeat them or anything that we do and then do again and then do again. Every time we respond, it becomes like natural. So we've let it become our nature. So to be in our nature is where we find rest. But the flip side of that to me is we can be unfamiliar with our own nature. And again, this speaks of me a lot in my younger years where I'm not really in touch with my nature. So I may find something like satisfying, but not contenting, like we spoke about last time, right? How you would be patient in line. And I could let a passion overtake me in the sense that it's kind of an obsession. So I go to it for whatever it is I gain from it. we'll say addictions aside, because that can become a physical thing. But if it is an addiction, even it's not in the form of like a substance, but our body still has a strong response to it, and we have a result from certain things that we do, and so we go to them. Whether we don't have to recognize it, like in words or in a vision or in our head, we don't have to feel it between our ears for it to actually be doing something for our brain and for our whole body. So this can all happen without our awareness that we're deriving good or calm or pleasure from something. And that's when you think about, so what does the heart have to do with this? Well, you have to check in with your heart. Is this vocational, like you said, versus a job? No shame in either. Both are, as far as I'm concerned, again, neutral and tremendous. But a vocation is kind of your calling, your natural calling. A job, I mean, you could argue that our vocations are all survival. You got to stay alive to have a vocation. So you're kind of serving it on a different level. But so as far as getting into like what I think I'm passionate about, I think it comes down to a lot of self-serving stuff. But that's also okay when with time you can separate from yourself enough to see yourself. And this is where it comes from other people, right? Me and you have gotten into some, like we could have charged some money for some of the arguments we've been into, right? But it does take that. It takes the times that me and you have say we've gotten into just a fight about something that I do, okay? As an example, if you don't mind. You're good with this, right?
Got that $5 you owe me?
But so say you say something, I can be so angry and defensive then, but I walk away and a part of it is planted. And this is why I think that we have to keep among our passions. One of the primary is relationships, because the only access I have to a lot of times who I am in the world is by interaction with people, because left to my own, I don't know a whole lot about myself otherwise, if that can make sense. It sounds a little bit off, but for the way that my mind works, that's how it is. Because I can kind of get in my head and I'm just thinking like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but I'm not exactly excellent feedback all the time for myself and my passions and my thoughts and what interferes with my passions, right?
Yeah, I think when you're saying all of this, I'm picturing a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
and then I'm
there
thinking,
you go.
wow.
Yeah, maybe it's the same. We're talking the same thing then when you say that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm thinking about relationships. Some of the most meaningful relationships, or certainly the most educational relationships in our lives, are relationships with people that are passionate. I'm talking about just passion. And the challenge is that they're passionate about arguing also,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So while they're passionate, they're truly passionate. So then, when it comes to, a spirited debate within, a cohabitational household, they're passionate about that too, standing their ground. So it can, which is kind of what you're saying. You're fighting both sides of passion. The passion to do something, and then the price of that very same passion.
Right.
So yeah, I'm telling you, relativity is a humorous thing, and not humorous like the bone.
You know what's so funny that you just said that? Because I was picturing, as you were saying about people being passionate and really like that intensity. Because when I think of you, I think passionate, and I also think like you have a certain intensity, and they are separate things, but you do tend to see them with people. I don't know if this is just me, and I cannot say honestly right now if this is judgment or not, but don't you think that you have a certain feeling with people's intensity and passion where some draws you in, okay? And not just because they are what they're speaking about lands on you or is about you because you've personalized something. But in a neutral way, there are some people that seem so passionate. For me, there may be something just a little misaligned because it can be exhausting. Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so against what you feel is just kind of right about everything. And now I know you trust me for this, but I'll say it for the benefit of anybody listening. I don't mean you when I say this at all, because I just got done saying that. But there are times when somebody is so passionate, and it can be frightening. Hitler has to be one of the most passionate people in history.
But Lori, that's only because their passion is foreign to us. We're
Right,
very familiar. We're very familiar with our own passion,
right.
and in our own passion, we find rest. But in somebody else's passion, which is we don't feel it. We don't feel what they feel.
Right, but
You
you can
know,
feel, but
lay on your back on some scaffolding and paint the Sistine Chapel. That's just work.
see, I can,
But to somebody who's passionate about their craft, their art, I mean, can you imagine? He's like,
then you
wait a
think,
second.
okay, so mark this, okay?
Wait a second.
Yeah, go
You
ahead.
know, he goes and he's like, let me get this straight, okay? You're going to provide all the material. You're going to give me a canvas where I can immortalize my name, and you're going to pay me? You know, that's like somebody coming to me and saying like, yeah, you can leave this legacy. You can build the irrelevant if it's valuable to anybody else. You know, that's what I'm passionate about. If somebody finds value in it, that's great. But you're gonna give me all the materials. You're going to pay me a stipend to exist, and I get to go into my garage and play with my toys. You know,
Let me tell you a quick story about this because of what you said, because I think this really talks about the double-edged sword of passions. So when you're talking about the Sistine Chapel painted, this is Michelangelo. The fact of the matter is he's a sculptor first. That's his passion, a sculptor. He did not necessarily want the job, and he was Michelangelo was around. Now this is where I fall apart with my history. What's the other Ninja Turtles? You know, the other
Leonardo.
Leonardo's there, and whatever the other Ninja Turtles were, they're there too. So part of the passion that was driving him was competition, because they had tried to squeeze him out of this job. The other part was what was being asked and what was going to be paid. So, but to me, the passion would lie in, and I've actually like looked at the pictures quite a lot, but I don't know the history, because that's, you know, where my passion drops off. And one of the most interesting things I find is they're so disproportionate. Like it's like when I would begin to draw something and I've made it way too big for the page, so things begin getting smaller and smaller, right? He did this beginning with heaven and then going down, kind of working his way down. And I don't want to overspeak, because I'm sure plenty of people can correct me here. This is my feeling about it. He started big, but the thing is, it's the most amazing work, because this is the first person who's actually painting things like he would sculpt them. So it gives us a different view of everything in that picture. It also gets smaller, which means, to me, the greatest passion I see there, on his back or not on his back, how he did it, I find the most passion in the fact that he completed this over years, when the excitement, that initial energy that comes with passion, it can run its course when your back's, you know, like my passion questions itself when my shoulder hurts. I've been making some stuff this week. My shoulder burns, and I'm like, I don't feel so passionate about this right now. I can walk away, right? So there's something more passionate that can see itself through that. Leroy, you almost knocked your head off. How long ago was it? A couple years ago? And your passion remains. So I think we're kind of agreeing, because I also truly believe you're passionate like that, in that I have pictures from when a Land Cruiser that you were doing when you were a tween, a teen, right? You already loved doing that type of thing, and now you've done it. It's tremendous pieces of art that I feel like you've done. That is passion. Oh my gosh, what you did to your head when, right? A very serious accident doing this, you continue doing it. And I think we have to kind of toggle out what's passion and what's not, because a lot of things can be considered passion. Number one, sometimes I'll call things passion because, or people will say this is a passion because I can do it, or I mistake it for a passion because I can do it. So you have the basketball players, okay? Is it a passion if somebody becomes a center because they're born tall? But once we're linked to something, we can kind of feel passionate about it. Now, do we truly believe that was the passion? If somebody's naturally born with balance and beauty, is it safe to say their passion was always to be this? Because I think passions lie a little deeper, and there's also things that we happen upon and we get good feedback, or it gives something in us some kind of reinforcement. Where I would say something that is a passion, you can go a whole lot longer without reinforcement, and you will continue to kind of serve it instead of doing it because doing it serves something in you, right? I shouldn't finish with right every time because it doesn't give you too many choices.
You are correct. I wrote when we started this today.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote this little thing, and I never knew. You and I have two completely different conventional educations.
Right.
We both have education, but we have two different conventional educations. You've actually been passionate about school, and I remember teasing,
I was years and years.
Given the choice, you'd just be a career student.
Yes.
You're passionate about going to class. You
Yes.
like it.
Yeah.
And I stumbled across this when I sent a proposal for a job I was acquiring, and I sent it for proofreading, and somehow it went from there, and it ended up in the hands of a couple of professors, and it got back to me, and they're like, you should try writing a short story. And I was like, what does that mean? Oh, like 500 words or less. And I was like, okay. So I was at the post office, and I scribbled something out on the hood of my truck, and I was like, I sent it. I was like, well, what do you think of this? And they're like, wait a second, when did you write that? I was like, just now. You told me to write a short story. They're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, let me get back to you. And then they're like, you know what? You should probably think of, generating a body of work.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you mean a body of work? And they're like, oh, you're good at writing. You should think about writing. And so that's how, I kind of stumbled upon, a passion. I didn't even know it. I was probably I must have been 28 years old.
Yeah.
Never even considered that I should be putting things together. And I still don't. I do it for fun. I'm passionate about it, but kind of for fun. But I enjoy it. I am passionate about it. But I didn't even know that was something until somebody else identified it. So I think passion is a very funny thing. We don't necessarily rule it. We don't own it.
That's it. Continue. But I want to mark that you said we don't necessarily always rule it, because I think that's the compromise between what we're each saying. Go on. I'm sorry. I got excited.
So
got a little
so
passionate.
I think that we're getting close to the end of our 40 minutes.
Okay.
We got another 5 minutes to go. And so I'm gonna kind of put up things that we may want to consider.
Okay.
And I promised that I would get back to childlike
Right.
understanding, because children are passionate unknowingly.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
here's 10 things we should probably consider between now and the next time we talk.
Okay.
Children are passionate about being curious. Children are passionate, and they have a want to explore. They're curious, exploration. They have imaginations. And they're passionate about their imagination. The stories that they come up with is just wild. Their innocence, their generosity, their contentment. We were talking just a couple episodes ago about the little kids on the playground, and they're happy with what they possess in the here, in the now, wanting, they have it. They're content. And they're passionate about their contentment to the point of wetting their pants.
That's right.
Initially, when children are very small, they cry when they fall. But as they get a little bit older, you'll see them attempt the same thing. And getting up after a fall is something they're passionate about. They're passionate about mastering a bicycle jump. A flip on the trampoline.
Yeah.
They're passionate about those things. They're accepting of others. They're compassionate. And number 10, they are infectiously passionate about believing in themselves.
Yes.
And if you don't believe me, think of the child wearing the tiara or the child in the Spider-Man underwear. I mean, that's passion. It's hard to teach.
They've embodied that, right?
It's imaginative.
Mm-hmm.
They're just fantastic. And I'll tell you what, we think that as we grow, we become wise. We need not look much further than the tiara or the underoos.
That's right.
Because they believe in themselves. So what a great way to start. I think we'll have to talk more about this.
I think I'm going to stick with the ruling the passions. Really has
passion and it's governing. Yeah.
Governing I like better than ruling. Sounds so dominant. Leroy, thank you. I mean, you always change a bit the way I see things, which I guess is good. I don't like to change the way I see things. You know that about me, right? Like I don't like to change. I'm pretty passionate about staticness in myself. Okay. I'm passionately a rock. But I can appreciate this. I can appreciate this kind of compromise or shared passion, because you just said the word compassion, which made me think that this shared passion we're reaching. And I think that's
so what you're saying is that you're passionate about learning almost as much as you are about teaching. I got it.
So what you're saying is you're passionate about teaching just a little under the table so somebody doesn't know they're taught, but you've kind of bent something in them.
And with that, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Bobby, in Strong Island.
It's always good to talk to you, Lori, and I can't wait to talk to you again. Bobby, please take us out of here. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you so much, Strong Island Entertainment.
Yes, you can like and share Strong Island and Tug of Heart to see what happens when we get a little more passionate and dig in a little deeper to our views here. Thank you.
I like it.
Please farewell till next time.